In the last couple decades has become one of the most popular comic book characters, which finally led him, and it was really good. It had a lot of charm and it was very fun to watch. It also got a sequel in 2018 that wasn't as good, but still pretty enjoyable. There are definitely movies I understand not liking. They can be a little too meta and admittedly fake edgy to a lot of people, but I think they pull it off well. And during this year's Super Bowl, they premiered the first trailer for the third movie, which looked fine enough to me. It wasn't much, but it seemed fun enough. But as more and more of the movie got announced and shown, I got increasingly more worried, so I didn't really bother and try to see it in theaters. But with it getting released on digital, I decided to finally get to one of the biggest movies of the year. And I thought it was fucking dog shit. Like one of the worst movies I had seen all year bad. And here's why it was so bad. Okay, so a lot of this film's context comes from the state of the MCU, so let me go over that real quick. The MCU has been on a steady decline ever since Endgame. They've been doing good for a while after that, with the success of a few movies and TV shows. Although I do blame their shows for destroying the franchise, using them working on too many things at once. And I think by 2022, most people started to realize that the company and their practices and patterns kind of fucking sucked. And I think part of that is because Martin Scorsese called them out on it. I didn't completely agree with him at the time, but by now I think he was pretty much right. As an overall fan of it, at least the older stuff, the MCU feels like they barely give a shit about the IPs or artistic vision anymore. And that, along with the general decline of superhero movies, thanks to the DCU not helping at all, they realized they needed money. And since Deadpool and Wolverine
Say that again?
are some of the biggest characters, they decided to make this movie. And Jesus Christ doesn't feel like it's made specifically because of that. This movie is one of the most cynical, soulless, unfunny, disingenuous movies I have ever seen. On the same level as Ralph Breaks the Internet, and if I ever watch it, Ready Player One, I assume. I guess I could throw the Emoji Movie in there. I genuinely believe that movie has more artistic integrity than any of those. For starters, this movie feels like it's just for fan service. Almost every single frame and dialogue is pandering to the shows who only want references to other things as an excuse for a movie. Just like those Star Wars fans. It feels so lifeless where it tries to be and only exists to be for fans instead of for itself. Just about all of it is Marvel stuff that only works if you're a fan of it in the first place. And there's even a fucking glorified old boy fight scene in this. Maybe not a reference necessarily, but it definitely tries to be like that. And it's not like I'm against fanfare in movies. To reference another Sean Levy movie, I like Free Guy, and that does a very similar thing to this. But the difference is that movie is actually fun and funny, and I see more in it than what this movie does. Almost every joke sucks, as they once again are only made as shitty meta humor with no soul or passion attached, or even sometimes as a shitty modern day lingo thing, where an epic offensive memes against the woke mob. I'm not kidding about that, there's literally a line where the villain gets up on the real shit, and Deadpool is like, I'm not the ableist, you're gonna check out the woke mob. The funniest part about this movie is this scene.
The proposal. The fuck was that? Bitch, you think that's what I do?
And that's because it's quite literally all this movie is. That's how they treat Deadpool in here. As for the fun aspect, I'll give them this. Some of the fight scenes are pretty decent. The opening scene, the car fight scene, and the old boy scene aren't particularly good, but they all have nice enough ideas and sequencing to make them somewhat enjoyable. I guess Hugh Jackman and Channing Tatum were fine enough, I guess. But for the rest of it just meanders around uninterestingly, and it's just really tiring. It made me do the comedy, but it's not like it really does anything actually fun. There's like a bunch of needle drops to a bunch of classics and a shitty hype song they made for this. But they're all so forced. Everything about this movie is so forced. It's literally the most Reddit shit ever. It only appeals to MCU Redditors specifically. They completely missed the appeal of the first two movies, which had actual good meta humor and consistently solid action scenes. Even the emotional connection feels contrived, which is saying a lot since the stakes are a lot higher than the last two. If you're making a movie where someone's entire world is going to be destroyed combined with someone else's fears of saving his own, and I don't feel anything, you failed as a movie. This whole movie pretty much fails at everything. It's just a soulless cash grab that was only made for Christian nerds to freak out over the most MCU references possible. It's to me what I'm sure people who don't like the MCU see it as already. Fuck you, Sean Levy, for becoming a hack. Fuck you, Ryan Reynolds, for helping writing this. Fuck you, Kevin Feige, for being a horrible producer and executive. And fuck me, Hugh Jackman. I don't believe cinema is dead or even mainstream cinema, but if there's any case you can make of that, it's this movie. 2 out of 10. As bad as Madam Web was and the new Joker looks, I at least respect them as failures.
Motherfucker. I wish I would. Yeah.